Colleagues, good afternoon once again. I think we have given an opportunity for people to actually join in. I would like to thank you for taking some time to allow yourself and myself to exchange some knowledge that can assist us with regards to our research journey. My name is Professor Caetano Dube. I am the acting faculty research professor in the Faculty of Human Science, and I will be facilitating today's session. We'll also try to have different people facilitating this kind of events in the future, but we just wanted to see the uptake so that we are able to roll out those particular sessions that can assist us with writing. So you've got my contact details there. And today, the focus of today's training is on abstract writing research as part of our research development in the Faculty of Human Science. I'm cognizant of the fact that there could be other colleagues that are coming from other faculties. Should we have some questions, I would request colleagues to just type in the comments box. And I think there should be also a question and answer function. You are also free to sort of stop me so that I am able to attend to questions should there be any. Maybe one might ask, why did we start by looking at abstract writing? So I think for basically two reasons. The initial reason is that as academics, in most instances, we find ourselves wanting to, I think at this particular time of the year, you'd find that there are a lot of calls. These could be conference calls, and in most instances, these conference calls will require you to also submit an abstract. So there's a lot of projects in many fields that require abstract. These could be for book chapters. These could also be for conferences. And it is my desire that we are coming to fully support, with all the support that we have, to equip an emerging researcher and mid-role researcher so that they grow into becoming established researchers. So that's one of the aspirations that I personally have. So just to give a brief of myself so that people do not think that maybe some people would want to know who exactly is facilitating this process. Professor Caetano Dube is a journal editor for one of the leading tourism journals, which is Tourism Geography. And I've also put the metrics for that journal. It have got an impact factor of 11.355. That is for 2021, and it is in the first quintile, which is the best quintile in terms of research. I am also an associate editor for Congent Social Sciences, which is also a journal that is in the second quintile, responsible for tourism, the tourism section. So I basically deal with a lot of manuscripts. I've also produced and edited about 3 books that are already published with Springer Nature. So I have some considerable experience in terms of research and research work. I have in total about 72 peer-reviewed publications that have accrued to my profile, and you can see there that's my profile. I've written extensively on tourism, sustainability, the issues around geography, and with some knowledge on hospitality. And you can see there some of my best articles, best cited articles. The first article that you see there, COVID-19 cripples the restaurant industry, is the best, third best, most cited article in current issues in tourism. which is also in the Quanta one in terms of journals. The second journal, the second article there is the best performing, best cited, one of the most cited articles in the past 3 years in Journal of Air Transport Management. And on the third day, you have got a book that we wrote when COVID-19 hit us, which was one of the seminal books on COVID-19, and it looked at the tourism industry as a whole. So I've got some experience that I really can share with my colleagues so that we assist each other. So maybe a person might also, why do we need to do research? Why do we need to publish? So we have got a lot of work, particularly at VUT, that we have, and sometimes we sort of push the research into the back burner. But we just want to interrogate why it is important for you and me to publish. The results of your research amount to nothing unless they are disseminated. So besides other things, you just need to be able to communicate as an academic what your findings are for general knowledge of the public. And you also need to communicate your findings to demonstrate mastery of skills needed to complete a scientific research project. So sometimes we conduct research because it's part of our master's, it's part of our PhD. So in terms of that, we also do research. And sometimes we also conduct what are called commissioned research. These are normally done by government. You are approached to do a particular project, and then you then submit the findings to either a board or company or government. We also do research to facilitate thinking, so to contribute to scholarly literature in the field. And also we conduct research to identify you with the domain of the research. Also to improve your academic credibility with the students. So we in terms of us as educators, one of the things that is expected of us is we are supposed to be experts in matters that we actually, in curriculum that we actually facilitate. So our students take pride when they see us conducting research, in particularly the sort of content that we teach them, that really assists them in terms of boosting their confidence in terms of us as subject matter facilitators. But one of the key in things, I think some of us might have seen a call for promotion that was circulated earlier, I think last month or sometime there. So in terms of the promotion currently at our university, for you to move in terms of your career progression, you need to show some evidence that you have conducted scientific research and that you have published. And it is this research in most instances that sort of attracts us and connects us to industry that we are experts in. So this is actually critical also in terms of the presence of the university, in terms of the prestige of our university. I normally get invited to television, the radios, and do news articles. And I find that sometimes when there's a news article that has been done, I get a lot of external engagement with regards to the research that we have done. So our research, besides being academic, they also sometimes assist the communities or the society at large to understand some of the phenomena that could be happening. So as scientists, we then fill that particular gap to allow society to tap into the knowledge that we have acquired. So promotion, but we also know that as part of our institutional goals, research is key. So one of the 3 pillars of our institution is for us to be able to conduct research, and our funding as an institution is predicated also on the research that we conduct. So it is imperative that we understand this. So if one of the ways in which the university can get money is through us conducting research. I just want to bring it to the attention of colleagues that, so we have got journal articles, sorry. So journal articles are in many respects, if you produce one journal article that is sole published and you submit that to the institution gets from the Department of Higher Education, it gets about 125,000 from a single unit. If you go and attend a conference, be it local or international, and it's a peer-reviewed, the institution gets 0.5 units, which is about 65,000 rand that comes to the institutions. We take those research and we go to the department and we say, this is the research that we have produced as VUT. Can we then get some funding to support that? So from that perspective, research becomes a way in which, as an institution, we can get a bit more money out of the researchers. So besides collecting fees, very good institutions, very sound institutions also get a lot of their money from research. Also, research attracts a lot of external funding. So you have got all these benefits of conducting research. This is why, as an institution, we are spending a lot of time trying to build a culture of research. So that particular background, I think it is important for us to understand. I just want, maybe before we go any further, I just want us to maybe take about 5 minutes. I just want to get a feel in the comment box. What are your expectations in attending this particular session? So just type, what is it that you are expecting from this particular session? Let's just type it. Each person, can we have maybe some few minutes of just typing? What are you expecting to get out of this particular session? So at the end of the session, we would want them to go back and say, have we managed to sort of meet your expectations? And if we have not, this will assist us in terms of our thinking and also in terms of our planning to get the gist of what is it that we did not meet. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to just type in the chat box, what are your expectations? What do you seek to achieve by attending this particular session? Colleagues, it's over to you. So I think the chat session is, yes. Thank you. Can we have more comments? We want more. We want to see what are you expecting in attending this session. Thank you. Thank you. I see them. We have got 3. We are still waiting for more comments. We are expecting more comments. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Yes, I'm expecting more comments. Thank you. All right. I'm waiting for more comments. I'm waiting for more comments in the chat. Great. Some more comments, please. I need to know what are the basic expectations, so that we see if we're going to be able to meet some of those. Are we done, colleagues? Even if your expectation has been written, please just write it. We would want to see generally what is the picture. Right. I'll give it 1 more minute. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so I can see quite a number of comments, and yes, I am sure, I think some of them we are going to meet them, but I think there are also other comments that talk to how to write an acceptable article or book abstract. Great. All right. To improve my research writing, that's fine. Right. Let's continue and let's see if we are going to be able to meet these expectations, which is key to this particular session. So let's start by looking at the general structure of a paper. So you realize that in most instances, most scientific articles would require you to have an article. I know even in terms of the book chapters that I have written and also edited, the general structure is we expect a document that is between 5,000 words and about 8,000 words. So this is general limit. And the title, how long should be my title? Your title ordinarily should be about 10 to 15 words. The abstract, in most instances, the abstract is, so we're now talking about the structure or the size of the abstract. So we're going to get into details. You'll find that your abstract needs to be, in most cases, has to be between 100 and 300 words. But this is specifically for journal articles. But you realize that if you want then to look at extended abstract, this could be for book chapters or for conference. These are slightly different. We're going to look at what are the intricacies of those particular kind of scientific writings. And you expected to give mostly keywords, about five keywords. And so we're going to narrow, I think, our discussion so that we look at basically the abstract and keywords. So how do I write my abstract? And next to the abstract, you have got your keywords. And this is one thing that no one ever taught me up until I had written quite several articles to just understand how to write keywords. There is a science that goes into it, which is actually very critical in terms of increasing the presence and improving the chances of your article being cited. So you need to write your keywords in a particular way. So we're going to look into that. So after that, you will see that you need your introduction, which is in most instances, my introduction ranges between 1,000 words. If I put my background and introduction, it will go to about between 1,500 and 2,000 words. And what is included in that is the background, motivation of the research problem. I address my gap. So what is it that is not known? I start in my introduction by mentioning this is what is known, this is what is not known. We also have your aims and your objectives, but the way we write our aims and objectives is slightly different from the way we do write our aims and objectives for a research thesis, although there could be similarities here and there, but the way we write it is totally different. And this is some of the things that if, as a journal editor, I receive an article and I want to do initial screening, what you would consider to be the desk. I'm sure those that have submitted article, you have received an editorial decision that says, having looked at your article, the editor has decided not to move to review stage. So these are some of the things we need to know. How can we avoid that in terms of writing our background and in terms of writing our abstract, that those things becomes key. In some instances, we have literature review that is separate study area, the methodology, data collection, and how that data is analyzed, results and findings. Discussion, then we in most cases want to discuss the findings of these were our findings. So we need then to discuss to say, what do these findings actually mean in reality? What are the implications of these particular findings? What do these findings mean, both in terms of policy and also in terms of practice, particularly to those that are in the social science? Then you have your conclusion. So basically, this becomes the structure of a paper, this general structure of the paper. So if you look at, I know there are colleagues that are visual in terms of their understanding. So I've just also put a graphic that shows you the structure of an article. So we said you start with your title on top there, and then you've got your abstract. And what is it that is in the abstract? The one question is here, how do we here what did we find? How it matters? The one question is here we do, what do we find? And that also comes in the form of, so our abstract in many instances, unless if it is an extended abstract, comes in the form of a paragraph. And then you can see there, you've got your introduction, which also just highlight what are some of the things that could be there, your results, and also your discussion. So this sort of summarizes what we discussed earlier on in a very short way. Abstract. So like I was saying, the structure from one journal to the other differs. So one needs then to be cognizant of those particular things. So before I submit my journal article, I need to go to information that is given to authors to find out, okay, what is the size? How many words should be in my abstracts? So this is one thing that is actually critical. And we say that this ranges in most instances from 150 words to 300 words in the main. Extended abstracts can be longer, and this can be between 500 words and 1,000 words in the main. And we're going to look at how do we then write these two that can be different. The standards of abstracts are usually presented as a single paragraph. Emerald abstract is rather different in structure with many, let me see what's happening there. Right. So let's just look at the structure of this is the structure ordinarily of, if you want to publish with any journal that is in Emerald. You know that particularly for the tourism colleagues, there are lots of journals. So we have got quite a number of reputable publishing houses. We have got Taylor and Francis, we have got Elsevier, we have got Sage, and we have got Emerald. So because of the unique feature of the Emerald, which is actually very good in some instances, particularly if you are starting to write an abstract, you need to just have that general understanding of saying, okay, in terms of my structure, how can I write it? So if you follow this particular format, this can also assist you in terms of how to write an abstract that is that is acceptable. So before a person goes and read the entire article, as an editor, when I receive an article, or as a reviewer, when I receive an article, the editor of that journal will send to me when I get a lot of invitations, almost on a daily basis. I get invitations to review papers. So one of the things that is contained in those particular invitations is the abstract. So as a person, we have been doing a lot of reviews. I then can decide, based on the topic that has been written, to accept the invitation to review. And I'll tell you that one of the challenges that we have as journal editors, or as editors in general, is to find people that can review articles. One could say, but why? Because we don't have a lot of skills, people that can give constructive feedback that allows the authors to sort of improve on their submission. The reason why we review work is for us to be able to assist the other part to improve on their submission, so that we improve on the science ultimately. So if you look at that structure, it says all submissions must include structured abstract following the format obtained below. These 4 subheadings and their accompanying explanation must always be included. So the first thing, if you're submitting to this particular journal, is they want to see the purpose. So what the purpose, we can say the purpose, this is your aim, these are objectives of your paper. Right. So you start by including the stuff that is normally in the belly of, if it was your thesis, in the belly of your first chapter. So you start by stating, this study seeks to investigate, to explore, to examine the impact of COVID-19 on businesses in South Africa. This study seeks to explore and to understand the impact of COVID-19 on aviation in South Africa. This study seeks to explore the impact of agriculture, of COVID-19 on agriculture and food security in South Africa and other developing countries. So from the onset, we know exactly what is it that you're dealing with. And remember, your abstract has to, in a lot of ways, particularly the aim of your study has to, in a way, also speak to the title that you have chosen for your article. So after writing according to, if you're writing for Emerald, which you can also apply in a lot of other journals, specifically those that do not give you, I know I've worked a lot with Elsevier. So one of the things that Elsevier does is they want you to write your article your way, but they will give you also limitation in terms of what is the size of that particular what is the size of that particular abstract that you need to submit. So after writing our aim of the study, we then look at the design or the methodology or the approach that has been used to address the purpose, to address the aims and objectives of this particular paper that you want to look at. So like I indicated, so most of the guys that end up sitting with our articles, most of them are reputable or subject experts in the field that we operate in. So these are sort of things that they look at before they even accept. So when they look at, no, this thing is mixed up from the abstract is mixed up, then the reviewer can actually decline to review this particular script based on how you have presented your abstract. So your abstract is a recipe for winning ways if you want to be published. So if you keep failing to get reviewers, it means also your paper or your manuscript that you have submitted will take a bit longer in terms of the value chain of processing of papers, and this can take up to, in some journals, can take up to 3 years. Imagine you have submitted a paper and it's 3 years in the system. Right. So we need to avoid those. So the methodology, okay, so what is it that we're going to include here? So in terms of our design or methodology, we are indicating to them, I know in many respects, people want to indicate, no, I took a quantitative approach, which is good, which is fine in many respects, or I took a qualitative research approach. But my advice based on experience has been, there are reviewers who have got a bias towards a certain type of approach. So in most instances, instead of saying I use a qualitative or I use the mixed method research approach, I will go on and say and state exactly what I did. This particular study emerges from a survey, right? So from tourist survey, it could be a tourist survey. I put the number, how many tourists did I speak to? I spoke to 1,000 tourists. Okay, so a person from the onset, they know how the data was collected, right? They also know the sample size, and this also assists in terms of, as an editor, if I'm sitting with papers, do I feel like the approach that was used in this particular paper, does it talk to what the person needed to do? If not, then I can automatically do a desk reject based on that, or it can give me some sort of bias. As human beings, we do have our own bias. So we need to do things right in terms of our research, in terms of our abstract, because it's a multi to win the journal editor, number two, to also win the reviewer. Okay, so if we go back here, I will show you that so to get accepted at journals, it's not that easy. So for the first journal, you realize that you have got a 13% acceptance rate, meaning to say of the 100 papers that are submitted to this particular journal, 87% are actually rejected. This one is a bit higher. It have got 22% acceptance rate, meaning to say you can see that close to also about 80% is rejected. So you don't want your papers to be rejected from the onset. You really want to make sure that you have one, the favor of the editor, number two, the favor of the reviewer. So we also need to indicate how did we analyze this particular data set. The analysis of this data set, I use, if it is Microsoft Excel toolpack, I need to indicate the analysis was done using Microsoft Excel toolpack, or I used ArcGIS. I do a lot of work in geography. So we have got also remote sensing tools that we actually use in terms of analyzing data. When we're analyzing pictures, we want to understand what are the developments. If we want to check, maybe we want to check the development on Vaal University of Technology, we can actually use a GIS by superimposing and comparing different pictures. So I need to state this from the onset so that a person who is also receiving an invitation to review, they know the methodology that you have used and kind of make a decision on whether it is a good idea for them to review this or not, given their expertise in that particular analysis methodology that you could have used. If you use question pro text analysis, for example, or you are using SPSS or other sophisticated software packages, these things are fundamental that we declare them upfront in our abstract. But we do this in a very succinct and in a summary way that does not take a lot of space, given the space limitations that we have of about 250 words in most instances. We also need to indicate our findings. So this was the purpose of our study. We wanted to investigate to understand what is the impact of COVID-19 on tourism or on hotels in South Africa. What were our findings? Our findings were, we need to state our findings, right? So once we state our findings, it gives us, we only capture the critical findings. And one might ask me, what are the critical findings of my study? The critical findings of the study is your key research question. So what is the key research question? It is that question that is emanating from the title of your paper. So we need to know, what were the principal findings? What is it that you found? Did COVID-19 have an impact on hotels? These are my findings. My findings are that COVID-19 resulted in closure of many hotels. Most of them went bankrupt. Okay, so what do we then do with that? So what sometimes then they say originality. Okay, so in terms of originality, this is where you then state this speaks to your research gap. In terms of our research gap, the reason why I am conducting this particular study is because this is what I have stated in my papers. I'm conducting this particular study. This is what I have stated also in my introduction, in my rationale. We have not had a comprehensive analysis of the impact of COVID-19 on tourism in South Africa as a tourist destination. So what originality have I brought in? You can also state that we have documented the impact of COVID-19 and looked and examined the implications on hospitality or on tourism industry in South Africa. So that is new value, which this is something that has not been done. We can also have where we indicate research limitations and implications. This is where I'm stating no, because of COVID-19, my sample size was not as big as expected. What are the practical implications? Because COVID-19 resulted in closure of many tourists belonging to Black business owners in South Africa. In order for us to improve our transformation, our triple BEE scorecard in terms of the tourism industry, we need to have capital injection into some of these businesses. So I'm bringing in these practical implementations. When Minister Sisulu looks at my article, she's able to see clearly what are the implications. What does this mean for a sector? I'll tell you, I've done a lot of research, and most of them have ended up on the laps of policy implementers. So it is important that we write these social, they could be economic implications. We need to be able to do this. So you can see there in terms of that particular journal that we chose, the maximum length of your abstract should be 250 words in total, including keywords and article classification. See the section below. Okay, so we said the purpose, so this is just a summary of what I was saying. This study aims to, so I just took one article there. So we are going to go through it together so that we sort of get a feel of how did this particular author write their abstract in fulfillment of the expectations of Elsevier. The purpose of the study, this study aims to provide a response to calls for research on the consequences of techno stress among employees in smart hotels based on the person, environment fit, and job demands. Resources, theories, and offer theoretical framework and investigate how factors affect employees' well-being and performance. Further, the author investigates the moderating effects of organizational learning on the relationship between techno stress and employee well-being and performance. Okay, what was the design methodology? The authors developed an empirically tested research model based on survey of 454 respondents in China. The effect of techno stress was analyzed by applying the use of partial least squares structured equation modeling. So if I receive this article, in as much as I might be interested in understanding the stress factors in terms of tech uptake within the hotel industry, but I am not competent in structural equation modeling, I'm also able to then say, no, I don't think I'm able to do this. The finding, the results support the techno stress negatively affects the employee well-being, e.g. engagements and overall well-being and performance. Employee well-being mediates the relationship between techno stress and performance. Organizational learning is a countervailing moderation impact on employee well-being and performance. Specifically, organizational learning and significantly counteracts the relationship between techno stress and performance, while significantly exacerbating the relationship between techno stress and engagement. Practical implementation. This study contributes to an enhanced understanding of techno stress in smart hotels and provides practical recommendations for assisting hotel managers in improving employee well-being and performance. Right. So those are the practical implementation. So if I am a hotelier, I can go and I'm looking for how do I deal with stress that is associated with technology in my smart hotels. This is the paper to go to. I then can go and purchase the full article if I don't have access to it, so that I engage with that paper. Originality of value. This work represents an early attempt to investigate the impact of techno stress on employee well-being and performance in smart hotels. The countervailing moderating effect of organizational learning and employee engagements and performance is identified. In addition, this study is an initial attempt at estimating the predictive contribution of mediating effects of employee engagements and overall well-being in the relationship between techno stress and employee performance in smart hotels. All right. So I can see the keywords there: smart hotel, techno stress, well-being, performance, employees performance, employees well-being. So a person who is studying HR and they're interested in employee performance, they can also pick up this particular article. So this is some of the ways in which we increase the presence of our articles. Technostress and someone who is studying on well-being might also be interested in this paper. Someone who is writing on smart hotels, they can also pick on this paper. So I've been doing a lot of talking. I think over the past say 40 minutes or so. But this is what I want us to do. I want us to look at this particular article. But what I want you to do is to identify those key aspects that we spoke about. And let's discuss those to say in terms of the writing of this abstract. This was aimed at looking at COVID-19. I just want you to maybe while you are sitting there, I want you to identify the key aspects that are in this paper. Does it cover all the aspects that we sort of looked at? And what are some of the issues that you are picking from this particular article? I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to look at it, and then we should be able to have a discussion as a team, so that we move on to the next aspect. So besides me talking, I would want colleagues to just look at the abstract that is in front of you, and I want you to identify what aspects can you pick up from that article. Identify maybe the purpose. Is there a purpose, or is the paper starting with the rationale? If it is starting with the rationale, indicate what is the rationale of that paper. In terms of methodology, is it indicated? In terms of the key findings, are they there? And I'll ask someone to read where that information is. So I am giving you 5 minutes to colleagues look at this abstract and try to dissect it, because that gives you an appreciation of how we can write abstract, maybe sometimes in a different way, but talking to the same thing. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that, colleagues. As individuals, I think let's do this task. So you can write, you can write on a paper. Then when we ask you, you can then indicate in terms of this particular abstract, this I find to be the purpose, the methodology that was used, what were the key findings and results. Because once we start doing that, we now are learning how to then configure our abstract. Because before we close, I'll give you an opportunity to also try and write a, what can I say, is to theoretically think of a topic, to theoretically think of the aims to write an abstract, so that we see if we are all able to if we have mastered something from this. Colleagues, 5 minutes starts now. We should be done, let's just say by 5 minutes to 3. I am here if there are any questions that you want to pose, then I can address that. So those with questions, you can put that in the QA, question and answer say that is platform that is open. Thank you. Right, colleagues, are we done? We can unmute. Are we done? Are we done with the exercise? Miss Ngid, are you done? You are done. You can unmute.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, Prof.
I am done.
I am done.
Okay, great.
So the
So the
first thing
first
that
thing that
I was
I
going
would
to
like to
identify
identify
here
here
on my
on my
side,
side,
I think we are having a bit of echoes.
I think we've got feedback.
Yes.
Can you hear me now, Prof?
Yeah, maybe Dr. Twala, if you can mute yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much. So what I identified, I think this could fall under the rationale. I'm not sure as yet, but the first sentence basically where it talks about COVID ushering the economic decline. But then the purpose of this abstract, what I identified is to examine potential recovery pathways from global aviation industry following the severe negative impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. And then the
Okay.
design study that I identified, or the design or methodology, was using the archival and the secondary data, mainly using Flight Trader 24, those different bodies in the methodology. And then my findings was that the pandemic inflicted a heavy toll on global aviation, therefore that led to the downgrading of ratings, liquidations, and bankruptcy of several airlines and airports, resulting in them closing down and also experiencing a cash burn. That also speaks to the rationale, if I'm not mistaken, which is the economic decline. And then and also the findings were that recovery is slower than what was anticipated. And then I also picked up on social implications, which touched on the SDGs, because I feel like the SDGs also speak to the social part of people. The social part or aspect. And then I also have the practical implications, which was to protect the travelers, reduce costs, increase efficiency, and ensure quality customer services, etc. So that's what I have identified from what you have taught us this far. Thank you so much, Prof.
Well done. Thank you very much. Anyone who has found something else different from what has been picked up? Did we all find the same thing, colleagues?
Prof. Dube, good afternoon, colleagues. It's Delia speaking. I think, the way this abstract was written in comparison to the other one, where this one doesn't have those headings that are
Yes.
visible, but the sentence structure and the way it's written, it doesn't necessarily require these headings. Everything is very bold, and there's a saying in Afrikaans that says, kort en kragtig. It's brief, but it's very impactful. And, I agree with what was found. I also found the same things just by reading it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Mwadiwa, your mic was on. Over to you.
Yes, Prof. I think Doc and Memgidi managed to basically cover everything. I think the abstract basically describes everything that we're focusing on, from the rationale, purpose, design methodology, findings, and recommendation, as well as implications. I think if you just break it down, you'll be able to get
To see those key features. Yes.
the information. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments? So maybe you realize that the first sentence there, what is the first sentence there? What is it giving us? Is it rational? Mr. Ngadiwa, yes?
Yes,
can
yes,
go.
Doc. Yes, Prof. I believe that's the rationale of the study.
So that one starts with that one becomes the background. So it starts with the background. COVID-19 pandemic ushered a wave of economic decline. Yes, Dr. Twala, you want to say something?
Oh, Prof, I'm sorry, I'm sitting with Kanye. So this is, I just noticed now that oh, Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prof, and good afternoon, colleagues. I was saying that I'm sorry, we're sitting with Kanyisile here, so that's why the echo we didn't realize. But I just wanted to say that from my side, I couldn't comment earlier because the colleagues covered everything.
Okay.
So I'm going to skip the purpose and the methodology because it's the same, and then the key findings. And the rationale that I had was the sentence number 6. Although the industry is opening up, I just wrote that and then. So yeah, that's what I have. And then the first sentence to me it was also intro background. And can you also highlighted the implications? I did not have that. So I had the purpose, which is the study examines, and then the methodology archival, and then the key findings, which is the one that were also mentioned, and then the rationale was yes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think did we all capture? I would assume that it looks like we all captured. I think the essence of what are the key aspects that we sort of put in an abstract. And there was also another abstract. I think that you can also look at it. But maybe I can go through that so that we also see. I'm going to read, and then we are going to have a discussion about are there key features. Is this abstract different from the first structure and the second structure? If they are different, what are the differences? So the keywords are sustainable development goals, SDGs, coastal tourism, Cape Town, beaches, rising sea level, and SDG 14. While there is an agreement among tourism role players on tourism's potential to contribute to socio-economic and environmental development, the industry is under severe threat from the increased impact of climate variability and change. This study examines the implication of rising sea level on coastal tourism in Cape Town, South Africa. Making use of mean sea level data from permanent sea level markers, remote sensing, and field observations, supported by key informant interviews, the study found that coastal tourism is under threat from rising sea level. Current and projected rising sea level, as well as other extreme weather events, such as increased storm intensity, trigger massive waves, and trigger that results in storm surges, which overtop and encroach into the land surface area. At least 80% of the 2019-2020 blue flag beaches are now under threat from rising sea level and coastal erosion. This study also found that some of the iconic tourist attractions, such as the Cape Point, V&A waterfront, Robben Island, and several beaches along the False Bay area, are under the same threat. Other tourist facilities under threat of weather extremes from climate change include servitude, coastal roads, railway facilities, and tidal pools, all threatening the attractiveness of some of the resorts. Then we have management implications. So apart from what has been said, so rising sea level is a huge challenge that requires innovative solutions for the city of the Cape Town. Given the threat that the industry is facing, there is a need for public-private partnership aimed at ensuring that there are sufficient resources to help the tourism sector is capable of adopting climate change. Increase insurance cover is a must to protect business from anticipated increased damage from rising sea levels, and associated weather extreme events. Continued risk assessment is a must to ensure the industry is abreast with the continued changes which are threats to coastal tourism and infrastructure. So, but if you look at this, again, the author here starts with a brief background that gives us an overall picture. And I always think that it's a very good thing to do to take us into the confidence. What is the situation before I go to the aim? What is the situation? And if I've got enough space, then I can go and state what is the problem. I can state what is the problem and then go and then state, so this is what we are going to do to ameliorate this particular problem. But it also have management implications. Management implications, these are for policy, planners, and also for practitioners. And there's also another one, and this one says, the study investigate the evidence impact of climate change. So it starts straight by going into the what? It starts by going into the aim. This is the aim of this study. It's looking at the impact of climate variability and change on Kruger National Park, which in South Africa. The mixed method research design was used as a strategy of inquiry, and both qualitative and quantitative data collection methods were employed. Look what we are doing here in terms of the way we are introducing the research methodology. We are not pulling into that whole chapter, which is your chapter 3 in your thesis. We are reducing it into 1 or 2, 3 lines that are talking about the same thing. The results show that the climate is changing as indicated by significant trends in annual average temperature, and the significant tests were conducted. You can see there is also given. And then it goes on to say what is it about that has changed. The rainfall pattern has changed. The climate change is it's considerable impact on wildlife. So we are able to capture this. What is the conclusion? The study concludes that there is evidence of climate change, and given this appropriate climate change, adaptation and mitigation intervention should be made to ensure sustainable utilization of Kruger National Park in line with dictates of Paris Agreement and also the Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate change action. The study further recommends a revision of land use planning, retrofitting and redesigning of some of the national park facilities and infrastructure to ensure climate resilience and sustainable tourism. Continuous investment into research and innovation in national park is also recommended to foster the protection of natural heritage. So you have got your impact clearly stated. You have got your implications, management implications, and practical implementations. You can actually take this abstract and give it to the park manager for Kruger National Park, and we will be able to look at that. So let's look. We looked at the journal in our first section. We looked at how do we write journals, but you will find that there is a journal abstract, and I'm sure colleagues, you'd appreciate that you have gained, I think, some basic skills on how to do this. But let's look at another type of abstract. So if you're going to be publishing in journals, one of the things that you want to do is to make sure, like we said, that your abstract can win favor with the person that is reviewing your article or with the reader. Because the reason why we write our work is we expect that work to be read by someone. What happens after reading? We expect that work to be cited. And what do we get from citations? We can use citations to claim dominance in a particular industry. Or when I know a lot of colleagues here, we have got their PhD, they might also want to use those citations to also, when you want to go for rating. I want to be rated. What are the metrics? They look at those citations. So our abstract also has to be appealing, and they act as the marketing tool for our paper. For those that are in the tourism industry, this is your reception area. This is your hotel front office. So this has to be done in a way that is appealing. So you realize that most of the journals, particularly the high impact journals, the top journals, they've got what are called graphic abstracts. So this is also to entice people that want to read things quickly and easily. So the graphic abstracts, this uses visual impressions to summarize a manuscript, and they are meant to attract the reader. And in most cases, when I do work, I sometimes get asked, what is your social media handle? So that when the production is done with uploading the paper, then they can be able to circulate that. So in terms of our marketing, this visual or the graphic abstract can then be used in social media to promote your findings, to promote your article. We want our work to be recognized and to be read across the world. It is these metrics that determines the leaders in a particular field. So we want to use in social media, textual statements are set to a minimum, and they make strong impact and increase your article views with visual abstracts optimized for social media channels. So sometimes we need graphic designers. This is the part that I'm not so competent in. And in most cases, if I need someone to do, I would then employ someone and say, this is my abstract. This is what, please, can you reduce this into graphics, which is easy to read and interpret. So we use them to highlight your work with illustrations, often demanded by high impact journals, and they communicate well. Communicate your finds to a broader audience, and I think I'm just repeating what I was saying. So let's look at, this is an example of a graphic abstract that you'll find particularly in a scientific journal. So key message, a one sentence summary of your key message combined with eye-catching graphic. The main results, your first main finding, then you can have followed by your second main finding. So this is how you structure. So you can also have your methodology, the study type, description of study followed what methodology. If it is an experiment, what sort of experiment did you do? So I am able to read this abstract in less than a minute or in less than 5 minutes, something that is a bit difficult to do when I'm just utilizing the conventional way of writing an abstract. This is also another example of a visual abstract, and topic: firm strategies and adoption of volatile carbon neutral programs. Approach literature review backed with conceptual economic model. So that is the research approach that was actually used. Stage one, adopt carbon neutral program. Choose the strategies. So motivations to adopt carbon neutral programs. This is what this paper is talking about. They are economic, they are profit driven, reputation. Why are we adopting a carbon neutral program? Because we want to be, as a tourism industry, as a hospitality industry, as a law firm, as an art gallery. I know we have got colleagues that are in the art gallery. So it is a prestige to have your art gallery being carbon neutral, because then you can use that to attract eco-tourists that are precisely interested in areas that are carbon neutral. From a law perspective, this is the moral, most ethical thing to do. So this is an abstract written all, and it highlights the main components of that particular abstract. Then we have got what is called also an extended abstract, and we normally get requested to provide extended abstracts when we are applying for a conference. So we get these extended abstract. If you find a call that say you are expected to provide 500 words, in most cases this is an extended abstract because it's a little bit way too longer than your normal abstract. So what are some of the things that I do when I receive a call? I want to think, okay, what does this conference, what is the theme of this conference? Okay, so when I design my abstract, I have taken into consideration the theme of this conference. Number one, Number two, I've also considered the thematic areas. So when I'm writing my abstract, I need to respond to a specific theme. And what is that specific theme? The specific theme is talking about hospitality post-COVID-19. So when I'm writing that particular article, I have got, I need then to look at literature that is talking about that. And then we still have that structure, colleagues, that we have where you have your purpose. You can start with your purpose. But in this case, my recommendation will be always start with a brief background and introduction. And then you can go and do your aim. It is then in your background and introduction that you then take a few references and you put them there so that a person who is reading, I'm sure, colleagues, you have received those that have applied for conferences, and you hear that they say literature review is not enough. So this is an area where we then go and put a little bit in our background and introduction. We put in a lot of literature, maybe two, three citations there. Preferably, if you can get work from seminal scholars, put it in there. I'll tell you about why it is important that we cite correctly, and who to cite, and who we cite, why who we cite matters. So sometimes who you cite matters in terms of if you want to build your academic profile. So you then can, and in most cases must have citations. So apart from our background and introductions, we can also have some literature in terms of when we write our results. In our results, we realize that COVID-19 had adverse impact on aviation, right? We want to check in terms of your findings, how do your findings relate to other literature or other works or other research that has been conducted? I then say, these our findings confirm what has been already found or stated by Dube and Namo, or Dube and Twala, that COVID-19 had serious implications on aviation sector. So what you're doing now is you are linking you are increasing sometimes the confidence in terms of your results. They match what we already know. They confirm some, because sometimes we conduct research, it can confirm, or it can actually dispute what has been found. If you are disputing what has been found, you can also indicate this our study contradicts with the findings made by so and so. So you are claiming some space and you are drawing people. And I'm going to talk about referencing and who to cite, why it is important that we do those citations. Provide a bit more detail about every aspect of the abstract, those details that we spoke about, your background, your introduction, your aim of the study, your research methodology. In your research methodology, you can also use references to say this method was also equally used by Dube and Erasmus. What does that do? It says what we are doing is quite valid, and it also speaks to what has been done. So if a person is reviewing your work, they can't then, the leeway to actually contradict, particularly with the methodology, becomes also ameliorated that way. And in an extended abstract, we can also include things such as tables. We can also include figures. And we always need to make sure if we put figures, if we put a table, we have in-text reference that particular figure. We have in-text reference that particular table. This is how we do things. So that when a person is reviewing, they see that we know these things. Because sometimes the review process is just checking, does this person know how to write? What are the conventions of writing? Apart from the science, we also need to know, are you complying to the protocols and conventions of academic writing? So these are also critical. And I say there that there is no room for spelling and grammatical mistakes. Right. I can't emphasize this more. If I'm going to receive an abstract that is replete with grammatical errors, This is what it says about the person that have written this particular work. The person did not take their time to really consider this submission. They did it in a rush. So you don't need to scream that you have done this in a rush. And again, going back to the issue we mentioned about making impressions. We always say that make the what? The first impressions, they do count a lot. So the abstract is an opportunity for us to make lasting impact, to make lasting impressions. And sometimes in these conferences, there are thousands of people, especially when they are organized by these big journals. You have got thousands or hundreds of abstract that has been submitted. So sometimes people are just looking for an opportunity to say, how do we reject this? How do we reduce the number of abstract that we have so that we are left with only those that have been done? And I say that we have got a number of software tools that we can actually use to clean up our documents, to make sure that there are no grammatical mistakes. I receive a lot of work, and one of the things that I pick up as soon as I receive a document, that document goes onto my lap. If I open it in Word, I've got Grammarly that is loaded into there. So it starts highlighting before I even start reading. It starts highlighting red, green, yellow, indicating areas where there are grammatical errors, spelling mistakes. That does not look good. I always say before you submit your work to a third party, make sure you have given someone close to you to review it, to just you avoid some of those mistakes. So give your work to a reviewer. The academic space is also not for weaklings. So this, because you have rejections. I think I showed you the rejection rates of some of the journals there. If you've got, I've published in journals where the acceptance rate is 12%, 10%. So this is 90% is actually rejected. So getting your paper rejected and you have spent 3 months, 6 months working on it is as heartbreaking as being told by a person that you think was going to marry you, because we get emotionally attached to the work that we do. So we do get, one thing that is important is for us to understand these things are going to happen. You are going to get a lot of rejections, but it's the nature of the beast, it's the nature of the game. Don't give up. Right, so what are the key questions when writing an abstract that we looked at? What is the background of this study? I said we need to see that. What was the problem? And we might need to indicate why is this even important for us to study? What is the aim of your research? That is your purpose. What is why is it important? The rationale, why is it important? Why are we doing this research? What did you do? That is the methodology. What did you find? The principal findings. Check research questions. What does it mean, practical and theoretical implications? So this is just to summarize what we did. What is the use of an abstract? It provides an easy summary of the study. It gives life to the research. An abstract is the only free aspect of your book chapter or your journal article. Make it count. So what do I mean there? In most cases, you realize, colleagues, I'm sure you would appreciate this, that you want to work at home and there's this journal that you have, but you don't have access to it. And sometimes I am pressed. I just want to cite an article, or I just want to read an article. So one of the things that an abstract is supposed to do is make sure that you have loaded. This is what I always want to say. Make sure that your abstract is pregnant with information that you need to actually, that can be used by another person, because you have got people that do not have access to library like all of us here. So that person, if they got your abstract, they need to be able to cite your work based on your abstract, because you have indicated information that is critical. COVID-19 severely affected the tourism industry, and I need a reference for that. Do I need to go and read the abstract? In some instances, this is easier said than done. I might find myself just looking at the abstract and I can be able to cite from that particular abstract. When it comes to books, I've published quite a number of books with Springer. I've got a couple of books that are coming, I think, in early next year. One of the things that I know is, and why I also published a lot of my work with Springer, is I know that Springer publishes, number one, my books as a chapter. So that chapter comes in the form of a journal article with its own digital identification number. But most importantly, it is one of the very few publishers that publishes my abstract. So in most instances, people do not have access to books, particularly books, ebooks. So a person who goes and reads my abstract should be able to cite my work just using what? The abstract information that is there. Dr. Osterzen, you want to write about culinary studies. A person who has just read your abstract, they should be able to make sense of what is being said and be able to. So my front office then become, my reception area becomes the abstract. So let's just look at, so why is also the abstract important? Make it count. So using, we also use abstracts in terms of when we want to do a bibliometric analysis. So we just want to see what work has been done and who has done what and where has it been done. What are the research gaps? We normally use that in the information using what do you call it? Using the abstract. So let's besides that, an abstract also plays a key role in that it assists us in terms of identifying possible avenues where we can actually publish our work. So I'm sure colleagues will appreciate that one of the things that one would spend a lot of time on is to basically find a journal. You sit with your article and you're asking yourself, where can I send this article? So if you've written your abstract well, it will assist you in locating a home for your journal. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and show you how we do it in terms of using the abstract to find possible journals where you can actually publish. So a number of, especially the major journal articles, they actually assist you. So based on the metrics, based on the information that you have provided, they can be able to match your article to a particular journal. So they will suggest a journal for you. Then you can make a determination of whether you want to publish in that particular journal or not. But so it makes life easy for you, for me as a researcher, to find the best articles. And I'm going to use the Elsevier Journal Finder to just show you how we use the abstract and the topic to identify a certain journal. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and then after that, I will take us to a window. Let me just pull. Let me just pull an article, and right, 2020. Right. Just a second. Right. So we want to see how do we use an abstract to identify a suitable home for our journal. So I am sure colleagues can see. So this is what is called Journal Finder. It assists us in just locating. So what is needed? What information is needed? So they need me to enter my paper title. I'm going to enter the paper title for a paper that I'm going to present on Monday in UAE. So I just want to open there. Right, so that's my topic. So my title. So this has not been peer reviewed, but this is a conference. I would want to publish this in a journal article. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take my abstract, and the abstract for this one is how many words? Is about 100 words. I've got 100 words as right. They also need the keywords. So we need to put in keywords. So the keywords, I think, will be the last thing that we're going to talk about. And we'll see how that goes. Right. So these are very things that you might think they are very minor, but quite critical. So I've entered all the information that is needed. I now need to find journals. So I just click there. All right, so there you go, colleagues. This is what has came out of our elections. Let's see. So because this uses a logarithms, let's see. Time to face a decision. So this is where I find research in economics. So these are areas, journals where I can actually where I can publish my article. I can consider this. Not always accurate, but they give you sort of an idea about where your article can go. But so why is this journal finder important? So from this, I can check economic analysis and policy. Okay, so what is the site score? I'm probably in my middle career, so I'm very, very much interested in finding out if I'm going to publish a work. It has to be in a very good journal, and a very good journal, you've got a higher impact factor. And I also need to consider the acceptance rate. And also, I'm now interested in turnaround time. So I'm not going to put my article in a place that takes 2 years to give feedback, right? So this one, you've got economic analysis and policy. That's site score 4.7, impact factor, not bad. The acceptance rate is also not bad. So they accept about. So my chances of being published are quite high. Top readership. Where is my article? Where the people that are likely going to read my article? They are from Canada, Europe, and also Great Britain. These are things that are very key. When I'm doing my application for NRF, they want to know who is reading my work, who is citing my work, where are they from, who are they, what is their position, and all those things. And I put them as motivation when I'm applying for my promotion. Time to publication, that's 2 weeks. So this is how basically, in essence, how you use a journal to a journal finder, so to speak, right? So, but because this paper is largely on aviation, is on transport, I think my paper will be best resident where? At transport policy, because this has to do with aviation. What is the site score? 9, impact factor 6. This is very good. I am so sure if I publish my article in this particular journal, it's likely to be cited and highly cited. Acceptance rate 21%, which is good. Time to for first decisions, about 2 months. I'll know whether my paper is accepted or not. Within 2 months, if my paper is not accepted, I move it to another journal house. So within a year, I can have my work actually published or find another home. So that's about the journal finder. I also indicated that one of the things that we need to learn more about is the issue of I've written my abstract, but how do I write my what do you call it? How do I then write my keywords? So in most instances, and this is if you go and look at my Google Scholar profile and look at what I've written in my earlier years as a researcher, writing and keywords was not a problem. I would simply go and write the keywords that are in the topic, and I'm sure a lot of colleagues that have published here would also agree that's what they did. Now, so what happens is now with the knowledge that I have, I know that I made a big mistake, and that's a very costly mistake. So you don't need to repeat the words that are in your title, because when you do that, you are not benefiting from the benefits that goes hand in hand with indexing. So when journals are indexing your work, they use the title. They also use the keywords. So if you repeat the words that are in the title and you repeat them in your keywords, you are actually reducing the visibility of your paper by default. So you then need to find other critical issues that you tackle in your paper that are not in your topic, so that whoever is looking at that particular aspect is able to also you able to benefit from the wider audience in terms of the readership of your paper. It's 15:34, colleagues. I would like to stop here for today, but I'm not going to stop. But I would want to give you an opportunity to ask questions. These could be questions of clarity, or you could want to understand something that I might have missed, or that you feel I have not covered well. Colleagues, the mic is open for you to interact with me. So if there are questions, let's see, let's open there. Yes, Stevens Molekwa. Whilst we answer those questions, colleagues, I'm requested to ask you to complete the survey. I think there are about 5 questions that are there on your experience with this particular session. It's actually very, very important in terms of also our planning, and that feedback will allow us also to give. Yes, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon,
colleagues.
how are you?
Yes, I just wanted to get clarity on the question that I posed as to how or where does an abstract fit in the process of producing an article, because it seems like an abstract is more like a summary of sorts. However, people do submit abstracts before the article itself.
Yes. So yes, I'll get back to you. Let's let me address that, Mr. Tsenolo. Noted. I'll come to you. Let me just try and address this one. Okay. So there are 2 abstracts. There is an abstract for an article that has been completed. And this particular abstract, yes, indeed, it is a summary of what has been done in terms of the research work. This is what we have done. In fact, it is the last thing that you do. So you go on, you have your topic, you write your background, your introduction, your methodology, you write your results, and you write your discussion. You write your conclusion sometimes. Then you come back and then you write your abstract. It's a succinct summary of your article. You got that very well. But if I am writing in most cases, if I am writing for a conference, I want to attend a conference, or there's a book call that I have seen, I write my abstract from a proposal perspective, right? So I indicate this is this my study seek to examine this, and this is the methodology that I'm going to use. From my understanding, hypothetically, these are the likely findings, because sometimes we actually have gone to study, like right now I'm busy with evaluating the impact of COVID-19 on Limpopo. I have not sat down and write a paper, but if someone goes and asks me to write an abstract about the impact of COVID-19 on rural communities, I'm not going to wait because the call might close to write a full paper, but I can write based on my understanding of the initial findings. Remember, we also always have initial findings. This is what might be emerging. So we write it sometimes from, especially if it is a proposal, we write it from a speculative perspective. And like I indicated earlier on, in most instances, we conduct research really to validate what we suspect has happened. So there is nothing then that stops you from, after you have submitted, your abstract has been accepted, to then rewrite that abstract. It might shift from the principal findings, and you might find a different thing. I don't know if that answers the question, sir.
Oh, yes, my question has been answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Ms. Tenolo, over to you.
Thank you, Prof, and good day, colleagues. Prof, on the issue of keywords, are you saying that we don't need to repeat what we might have put, like, for example, in the title, the impact of COVID-19 at or in Limpopo, looking at rural areas? So are you saying that we don't need to include those important keywords like COVID-19, Limpopo, and so forth? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that wonderful question. I think that's exactly what I was saying. So if you repeat, so the reason why you have your keywords is for indexing purposes. So when I type search on Google Scholar, it is those it is the title, it is your abstract, it is your keywords that are picked by the algorithms. I'm not really an IT expert, but what I know is it is those aspects that are picked up that helps in terms of feasibility. So by you repeating the words that are already in your title, you are robbing yourself of your paper, which might have spoken about tourism in general. Your paper has been focusing on aviation, but in your title, you have written about aviation, the impact of aviation, the impact of COVID-19 on aviation in Western Cape, for example. I know you've written on that. But you, in your discussion, in your writing, you have also touched on tourism. So I'm going to take an opportunity and put tourism in my keywords, because I want a person who is reading about COVID-19 on tourism as a sector in general to be able also to pick my article that is talking about aviation. And you might even have spoken about the Cape Town. A person who is looking for studies that has been conducted on Cape Town needs to be able also to pick that particular article. It could also be, I might, because we are blessed because we come from South Africa. Because sometimes you want someone to pick a study that is talking about Africa. So in most instances, when you have written South Africa, Africa is covered. So I then look for other key words that are covered, or key thematic areas that are in my article that talks to my research, or which links that particular research to other broader fields to be able to allow the people from outside of tourism, outside of aviation, to also be able to pick that one up. I don't know if that answers it or there are further clarity that is needed.
Just a follow-up. So does it mean that the keywords might slightly differ, the one on the full paper and abstract?
The keywords on the paper and the abstract, may you explain that?
I was saying, might they slightly differ? Because now on the full paper, you will have to include slightly different keywords from abstract.
Okay, let me do this. Where is that paper? Where is that paper? Aviation University. I'll just give you an example. Where's that abstract? I think I've closed. Yeah. So in essence, the paper, what is in the title must differ. It's a good practice to have it differing from. Let me just pull this so that I share with you this paper so that I right. I intend to submit this paper. So emerging from COVID-19 pandemic, aviation recovery challenges and opportunities. All right, so in my abstract, I say this exploratory study examines the impact of COVID-19 and emerging challenges and opportunities from aviation recovery using archival and secondary data. Right, so you will see that in my, I'm talking about COVID-19, its impact on aviation. But if you look at my keywords, I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about the real challenges that I've picked up when I was analyzing, because I was talking about the challenges. What are these challenges? One of the challenges that I picked up in this study was that one of the, particularly in North America and also in Europe, is that labor challenges in terms, there are a lot of strikes that are affecting aviation. So I've put labor challenges there. Labor challenges, COVID-19, a person who is doing a study on labor in general should be able to come and cite my paper that is talking about labor challenges where in the aviation sector. But had I not put labor inside there, it might have been missed in terms of searches. But I also pick, there is an issue of climate change. Why am I putting climate change? I am actually extending the reach of my paper from just talking about COVID-19, but to also talk about COVID-19, about climate change. In what sense? From this study, I find that in terms of departures, if you look at the airport network in Europe, I found that there are challenges with airport delays that are associated with what? That are associated with weather. I think if you look there, you will see that I've got Eurocontrol delays in minutes, 7-day average. So when I looked at this, you have got delays that are caused by what? By weather. And what are these challenges? You've got a lot of cumulonimbus, and I tried to link those clouds to the issues of climate change. We have had very wild climatic system in that. So what am I doing? I am talking to some of the aspects, not they're in my study, but they are not covered. What are some of the challenges? You realize all of a sudden I'm talking about Ukraine war. But why am I talking about Ukraine war? Yes, we are trying to recover from COVID-19. But one of the challenges that as we are trying to recover from COVID-19, the Ukraine war has resulted in the skyrocketing of fuel. So a person who is looking at war and security studies is also able to tap into this particular aspect. A person who is studying on fuel, high fuel cost, on sustainability is also going to benefit from this particular study, which in ordinary sense, a person who is just reading randomly would not have picked it up. But because I have indexed it in journals, in papers that are talking about war, a person who is dealing with security study is going to cite this paper. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's quite clear. Thank you.
Colleagues, any other questions or comments? We are left with about 12 minutes to go. All right, colleagues, in the absence of more questions, I hope you have enjoyed or you have benefited, you have found value in this particular session. We're looking forward to having you in our next sessions. Please, colleagues, may you kindly complete that survey, whether you are from Faculty of Human Science or you are from whichever faculty or your support staff. I would urge you, these are very, very important in terms of our reporting for some of these programs. Thank you and have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Prof.
Thank you, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Prof. Bye, colleagues.
Bye.